Well, hello everyone. This is Harry Norris. I'm chair of the Finance Committee here at Nashville United Methodist Church, as you probably all know. And we wanted to give the congregation a financial update with our 2020 year-to-date statements having been released in late August, early September. And it reminds me of a Bible study that I'm participating in where Paul, on his missions and journeys, and met the Macedonians and noted that they were people that gave themselves first to the Lord. So their priorities were in the right place. They kept their eyes on Jesus and they kept their priorities as God as number one in their lives. And it frankly reminded me of Nashville United Methodist Church because we have such a gracious and grateful and spiritual congregation here. And so it was very, very good in reminding me of how generous and gracious our church body is. And given this pandemic in particular, that came to light. And that's one of the reasons we're doing the financial update right now, because it's been a different year for us. And hopefully you've had some positive things out of the pandemic. Certainly I have, with closeness to family, being outdoors more often, enjoying nature. I personally enjoy my solitude periodically, whether it's reading or journaling or just being reflective about things going on in life. So I hope you have done the same, and I hope you're healthy and well at this time. So with that biblical commentary, I want to review with you the financial status of the church, the income, the expenses, operating expenses, the cash flow, savings status of the church, and also some opportunities going ahead, because in the next week or two, we're going to be sending out giving statements up through the third quarter of the year. So look for that in the next week or so. That'll be the giving statement compared to your pledges for the year, of course. It's hard to believe that we're almost getting towards the end of the year. It's in sight. We have Thanksgiving and Christmas right on the horizon. And so it's just amazing that time has moved so quickly this year. And so we're weathering the viral storm, I will call it, with the pandemic quite well here at Nashville United Methodist. And for that, we're grateful for God's positive spirit in our lives and the continuing grace that we've enjoyed during the pandemic. And for all of that, we're thankful. So let's talk about income, our expenses, and the status of the church, financially speaking. In terms of income, pledges are doing extremely well. We're, in fact, 80% of our annual pledge as of the early September date, which is 80% of our total budget. We're in only 66% of the year has passed. So if we're at 80% of our pledge budget with only 66% of the year passed, it means we're 14% ahead in our pledges, which is outstanding, given the drop-off in attendance and the lack of in-person services earlier in the year, etc. So it's a fantastic compliment to all of you, and thank you so much for your dedication and devotion to the Lord, to Nashville United Methodist, and all of your fellow Christian brothers and sisters here at the church. Plate collections, on the other hand, as you might expect, are severely behind, way behind. We didn't have services for the early part of the year. Now that services have begun again, in-person services I'm speaking of now, of course, the attendance is nominal, as might be expected given the pandemic. So we've only collected 20% of our typical and budgeted plate collections. So that's a problem. In fact, we could project forward through the end of the year, just straight lining our collections in the plate, that is random attendees that put a few dollars or a check into the plate. We could project forward that we'll end up with close to a $9,000 deficit in our total income due to the shortfall in the plates. So that's a concern to us. However, we need to make this up between now and the end of the year. And I'm optimistic, in fact, because during the fourth quarter of the year, each year historically, Nashville United Methodist, between October, fall season, Thanksgiving, and then Christmas, we take in a large portion of our annual giving during that, holy season of Christmas and Advent. So we're optimistic that we'll pick up some of this shortfall from the severe decline and shortage we had from the plate collections. So as you go forward, prayerfully think about your giving for the holiday season, so we can make up the last 3 months of the year and make up this collection shortfall. Savings are very healthy. They have been for a long time here at the church. This is the savings that we use for extraordinary expenses, emergencies. We don't want to dip into savings very often to make up deficits or cover things as terms of a rainy day fund. We want to use that money for capital improvements when the furnace goes out, roof leaks, things like that. But our savings account is quite healthy and has been stable for the last several years as a result of ongoing gracious giving by all of you. So we're very thankful for that. And so the cash flow and savings are doing pretty well, other than the collection plate shortfall. Expenses, operating expenses are actually a little bit lower this year, as you might expect from the church's normal operating expenses. That's because the church building usage is not as intensive as it typically is. The building usage by both outside parties and certainly our own in-service church worship services has been much less than what it normally is due to the pandemic. Air conditioning, heating, maintenance, ongoing operating expenses associated with building usage are certainly way down, and that's helped our offset of our collection plate as well to a certain degree. As many of you know, Paula Mitchell retired recently, the church secretary, and as a result, she's only working 1 day a week right now to just fill in between now and the end of the year, just 1 day a week instead of 4 days a week. But we're thankful that we've had Linda Westcott, Deb Beckinger, and Laurie Young volunteering to provide Mary the administrative and office support she needs to continue to keep the church operating in a smooth and reasonably communicative manner. So I'm thankful to those volunteers, Linda, Deb, and Laurie Young, and we appreciate that, and we continue to expect we'll use volunteers for the church office between now and first part of next year until the pandemic calms down and gets under control. So a big thank you to the volunteers. We are up to date on conference and district tithes, so we're paying our share to the church at large. And here's an opportunity and a very positive announcement I've made before, perhaps during the stewardship campaign last year, but our mortgage is down to $53,000. We currently pay precisely $1,667 a month, almost $1,700 a month for our mortgage. So I would encourage any of you that are able and willing or interested and want to dig a little deeper in your contributions to the church and to the Lord, help us pay down that mortgage. We're close to it. It would save us $1,700 a month once we get it paid off. And boy, I would like nothing more than to toss that mortgage into the Christmas fireplace this year if possible. So think of that as an opportunity for giving. But it's great news that the mortgage is really within sight of being paid off. So statements go out the next week or so. Please consider bringing your pledge up to date if need be, or even increasing it to help us reduce the possible plate collection deficit I mentioned earlier. And in closing, I would like to thank Jim Tishner, Kathy Roberts, and Becky Courtney Knight for providing our able financial and treasury services functions here at the church. They do an outstanding job. They certainly make my job a lot more fun and easier, and they deserve the most credit for really managing the finances of our church. And so they do an outstanding job, and my thanks to all of them, and I'm sure yours as well. So in closing, I'd like to just thank the church for your faithfulness, your ongoing steadfastness in service to the church through either monetary contributions or volunteering like so many people do here at the church. I thank Pastor Mary for working hard during the pandemic to stream the services and the media people like Rob Taylor that support her in that regard, because it's not easy, but then they're reaching out to us through the technology we have, and we're thankful for that. So I just would close by saying thank you, take care. I hope you take to heart the update here and do what you can, as you always do, to continue the spiritual formation and service to the Lord of Nashville United Methodist Church and all of you in the church body. Thank you.